it's all about using your device in ways that are enabled by all of the modern technology that's been developed. So we've come to the crossroads where every civilization either get destroyed by nuclear weapons or they get Psi-Geddon, where everyone's enslaved by Psi, destroyed, and unless they're protected with their Psi golden dome. And I say, it doesn't matter if Trump pays for a Psi golden dome, because the Psi capability of the Western filth is that of a lemming that's fallen off a cliff with the rest of its lemmings. So this is a DARPA video where we'll go into all of the new technologies that give you Psi-Geddon and have made the Western military and their populations obsolete and or torture toys.
Yes, but he's saying that we know we grew up in a time that there were only 3 states.
Solid liquid gas.
Right, now that's not true anymore. As of yesterday, I mean, getting your arms around just the, and this is amazing. This is just the beginning. If you were read or heard about the Microsoft announcement yesterday, this is what life is going to be like multiple times a day in the next 3 years.
This crystal isn't made.
So, just as a side, isn't it amazing that Joe Rogan, the leading podcast, is a rat-faced Jew, and this piece of filth, another one, is a rat-faced Jew. So all of the controlled opposition are rat-faced Jews. And I say, Tucker Carlson wants to be a rat-faced Jew, but he never got circumcised.
Entirely of electrons, and it formed all by itself at room temperature. A strange new magnetic material flips between order and chaos, like it's half ice, half fire, and deep inside a quantum lab, time itself has started to crystallize. Across the world, physicists are stumbling into something they never intended to create. Exotic phases that might not just be strange, but entirely new states of matter. And yes, some of these discoveries were never supposed to happen. In fact, one researcher said, "We thought it was a mistake." When physicist Swastik Kar from Northeastern University first saw electrons spontaneously organizing into a perfect crystal lattice between 2 thin sheets of material, he couldn't believe his instruments. His team checked and rechecked their data before accepting what they were seeing, something that challenges our fundamental understanding of how matter behaves. The discovery they couldn't explain. Imagine scientists studying what should be a routine experiment when suddenly their instruments show something completely unexpected. That's exactly what happened in the Northeastern University lab in 2020. We were simply layering 2 ultra-thin materials, bismuth selenide and a transition metal decalcogenide, when our instruments started showing something bizarre, explains physicist Swastik Kar, who led the research team. What they observed defied conventional physics. Electrons, instead of spreading out randomly as they should, had spontaneously organized themselves into a perfectly ordered crystalline grid, a lattice made purely of electrons, with no atoms involved whatsoever. Of course, we thought something was wrong, Carr admits. His team repeatedly checked their equipment, ran new tests, and verified their findings from multiple angles. The electron lattice was real. But here's what makes this truly extraordinary. It happened at room temperature.
So, he's it's not the fourth state of matter, it's the Fourth Reich, because of course the lead science is called swastika. We've got an Indian. Of course, Indians are Aryan, so of course the Fourth Reich has evolved in the rather darker Aryans. Hitler would go mad in his grave, wouldn't he? Instead of being blonde-eyed and, blonde and blue-eyed, we've got dark-haired and brown-eyed. And eating curry. So, this is one of the key new technologies we need for Psi-Geddon to render all American NATO hardware obsolete and to be able to do unto the Western population what the Sidle did to Bo Biden. Brain burn the piece of filth and turn him into a drooling zombie who needed an autopen.
Require cooling materials to near absolute zero, where atomic movement nearly stops. This self-organizing electron crystal formed under normal conditions you'd find in your living room. After exhaustive verification, Carr finally acknowledged what they'd stumbled upon. I'm tempted to say it's almost like a new phase of matter. Think about that for a moment. We've all learned about solids, liquids, gases, and maybe plasma. But this is something fundamentally different. A geometrically perfect lattice emerging spontaneously, made not of atoms or molecules, but of pure electrons arranging themselves into a crystal-like structure. It's as if the electrons decided to play by entirely new rules of physics. If you're finding this fascinating, hit that subscribe button right now, because we're about to go even deeper into these accidental discoveries that are reshaping our understanding of reality. But if that shocked scientists, what came next may completely change how we think about matter. What if part of a material was frozen solid?
Now, why is it so important that we've got this electron crystal at room temperature? Well, it is the key to leptonics and being able to fry all American and NATO military hardware and be able to brain burn all the Pentagon generals, the American billionaires, and of course the Rothschild Rockefeller royal family. And it's to do with this.
Empty, but filled with an invisible ocean of energy. In 1930, physicist Paul Dirac proposed something wild, that all of empty space is actually full. He imagined an infinite sea of negative energy particles beneath everything, hidden but always there. And when there's a hole in this sea, it appears to us as a real particle, an antiparticle. Dirac's sea was the first explanation for antimatter, long before we actually found it. The vacuum of space may not be empty at all. It may be swimming with energy we can't even see.
Cut. So in this, he postulated a positive C, and electrons are holes in this positive C. And some more.
Theory in quantum mechanics, named after English theoretical physicist Paul Dirac. The theory poses that the continuum of negative energy states, that are solutions to the Dirac equation, are filled with electrons, and the vacancies in this continuum poles are manifested as positrons with energy and momentum that are the negative of those of the state. The discovery of the positron in 1929 gave a considerable support to the Dirac hole theory, while Enrico Fermi, Niels Bohr and Wolfgang Pauli were skeptical about the theory. Other physicists, like Guido Beck and Kurt Sitter, made use of Dirac hole theory in alternative theories of beta decay.
So, Dirac hole theory. Dirac sidestepped the negative energy solutions by involving the exclusion principle. He postulated all negative energy states are occupied and regarded the vacuum as an infinite sea of electrons. So wouldn't it be nice, like ice fishing, to have a hole cut in the ice so that you could enter this Dirac sea of electrons and then use them like
In No Way Home, when Electro appears out of nowhere, if you pay attention, then you can see that the electricity around him briefly forms a suit that accurately reflects his comic book design.
So the importance of this electron crystal at room temperature is if you can bilocate into it, you can then enter this negative Dirac sea and be able to use leptionics, which we've been talking about. So this can be thought of as the key processor for leptionics for Psi-Geddon. So once you have access to leptionics, you can then fry the electronics of all NATO weaponry. And here's an example of the UK nuclear deterrent now being worthless thanks to leptionics.
Would have been a successful test fire like this one back in 2012. Instead, last month, a Trident missile launched from a nuclear deterrent submarine misfired and dropped into the ocean. It's the second malfunction in a row in a major embarrassment for the Royal Navy.
Good afternoon, and
So once you can access the Dirac sea of electrons, you can then use leptionics where anything can be fried, which is all the NATO filth's hardware
of AI.
And of course you can fry any AI, which of course is running on electronics. All the server farms, all fried. You just fry it all, isn't that? So why worry about AI when AI is your torture toy and simply is there for you to destroy? As I say, every AI on the planet is now simply there to be trashed using leptionics. That's what the Soviets were developing back during the Cold War. And access to leptionics allows you to fry all the AI filth on the planet. And of course all the quantum computers there to be fried, and all that lovely stuff to be electrodes. So, don't get fixated on American billionaires and the Rothschild, Rockefeller, royal family. You've also got all of the Silicon Valley's AIs and quantum computers, plus all the military NATO hardware to be fried. And of course, you can also fry all of the satellites. So as you can see, it's fun time, and to make it even better, we've got worthless scum who can have their brains fried to turn them into this thing. Well, there's one worthless piece of scum, but we've got another worthless piece of scum. He's got cancer, as if you go on my Rumble channel, you'll see how you can give cancer to any piece of filth you fancy. But of course he's been brain burned by yours truly, and of course now, because all the enemies of the West are not stupid, they are now trying out my technology on this imbecile. There we are. Oh, Trumpy boy.
The pure electrons arranging themselves into a crystal-like structure. It's as if the electrons decided to play by entirely new rules of physics. If you're finding this fascinating, hit that subscribe button right now, because we're about to go even deeper into
So as you can see, this is the doorway
crystal formed under normal conditions you'd find in your
into this negative energy sea that Dirac postulated. So in order to get there, you simply bilocate in, grab with your right hand stuff from the Dirac sea, bilocate out, and then you've got the Dirac sea that you can then download into your midsection, so that you've now got a permanent link with the negative energy Dirac sea via this crystal. So as you can see, time crystals are gateways to reversing entropy, or reversing nuclear reactions, or reversing life. But these electron crystals are the gateway into the Dirac sea, and the means by which you can then use leptionics. So since your code, you simply upload the code from the pseudo simulation into yourself, simply by bilocating into the screen. And remember, the screen's connected to Northwestern University and their electron crystal, stable at room temperature, and simply then bilocating out. So you bilocate in, grab it with the right hand. So it's best if you bilocate in with a fist, because then you grab and you back again with the fist, bilocate out, stick it in your midsection, and you've then inputted the code of the leptionic sea and leptionics into yourself. Think of it as this simply as the key maker, and you've got the key to enter the doorway into the Dirac negative sea, so you can use leptionics. Easy. So you can see the electrons, all electron crystal is not only the key, but the room by which you can be in that negative Dirac sea for leptionics, and enables the frying of all AI quantum computers and all NATO filth weapon systems. Luckily, this side is protected by a 5-dimensional super beam, the God Emperor, so I can simply close all 5-dimensional doorways where it works for the NATO filth. So you must have wondered, why am I revealing to the NATO filth this technology? Because you can't use it. Now, what else can we do with leptionics? Well, of course, we can do MK Ultra on all of the Pentagon generals, the Western billionaires, the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family, Trump, all the politicians, to make them our mind-controlled slaves, because the only Western filth is a mind-controlled slave. Don't you agree, Cameraman?
So, no.
They're vermin.
Are you a member or have ties to extremist groups or organization? No. Do you use drugs or alcohol? Yes. Do you trust Agent Moore? Ooh. Are you ready to begin? I'm gonna fund your research, Doctor.
Push the boundaries of science with the full support of the government.
So you have to drug the whole state.
Funding. That's what you always wanted.
Can't figure out what to make of it.
The CIA supported young psychiatrist experiment.
Shelly Powers, arsonist. It's law.
Why were you arrested?
You think I'm sick?
Politics and science make the worst of friends. I had some questions about where my research is being taken. I don't like questions.
How's mind control been achieved?
What the hell do you think you're doing?
We turn our eyes away for even a moment. Filth will overcome us.
So would you like to be able to MK Ultra any Western piece of filth you like? Well, of course, leptionics enables you to get into the game. Why should the CIA have all the fun? So, the Soviets discovered that there's a polarity in the brain, and this enabled a sleep-wake gun, talked about in my MP3s. And if you simply zap the back of the brain with your leptionics, the target gets put into a trance. Then you can simply then download suicide into the target when you put it into this trance state by zapping its brain, and you get the code for suicide from suicides you find online. How do we do that, Tim? Well, we bilocate in, we've gone to the Dirac Sea, we punch our fist into the back of the target's head, release the leptionics, pilot it out, and then go back in with the suicide. We bilocate it in, grab with the right hand and punch to the back of the head. And if you want to do it simultaneously, you can simply have the leptionics and Dirac C in your right hand, punching to a suicide with the leptionics, grab again inside of the brain of the suicide, and then pilot it out, and then pilot it into the target to release it into the back of the brain of the target, not only knocking out, but then reprogramming the brain for suicide. And one of the alleged victims might have been this thing, who's now got a body double. Kate Middleton, who according to conspiracy theorists is dead, and they're using a plastic surgerized body double. That's why she had to have the cancer and vanish from sight for a long time, so they could build the face of the new double. And why did she commit suicide? Because her lover, the husband of the Duke of Kent's daughter, who was killed by the British, shotgun by allegedly suicide, they're having an affair because Wills was bonking someone else, and she killed herself, allegedly, conspiracy. But as you can see how much fun this is. Now, of course, we've got a new A-list target who's really depressed because, of course, her man's left her because she's too old and ugly. So you can all try a hand at taking out Katy Perry.
Orlando Bloom can't stop partying while Katy Perry is struggling to keep up her shows. She's literally falling on her face trying to be strong, while her ex is now hanging out with women half his age and ignoring the life they had before she went on tour. This is a messy Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom update, so let's get into it. Katy Perry can't seem to get it right. She has been struggling with her breakup from Orlando Bloom, all while on this tour that's an absolute flop. But Katy, I'm starting to feel really bad for you because she recently did a show where she completely fell on her face. It's a hard watch, but she was doing a show in Arizona. Comment below if you were there, where she was running around the stage. And, you know, she does a lot of running and flying and all that. I feel like she could do a little bit more dancing, a little less running around. I mean, we see so many like Take Praise and artists performing their hearts out that I feel like running around is gonna end up with you falling just like this. Okay, first off, why do you even want to be running this much when you're singing? And then why? Whoa! Oh, she is down. There she goes. Right back into it. Okay, wait, we need a little reverse play right here. Okay, thank God she didn't like smash her face. I did see some people, I talked about this on TikTok and Instagram, don't check me out, but I did see people questioning whether she actually planned this because she really went right back into that dancing. I kind of feel like it wasn't planned because who like purposely falls? Unless she's, oh, in reverse, it goes crazy. Like, let's see where she actually falls. Okay, so is it this, it's this next foot that trips her, it looks like? I don't, unless she's just running too fast for her own good. Damn, Katy. She's a runner, she's a track star. She's falling hard though. Ooh. This person comments, the humiliation continues. I'm so embarrassed for her. You couldn't pay me enough to see her in concert. And one person wrote, it's a hard watch. She acts like a toddler running around at a wedding. One person said, she's getting used to Earth's gravity again, guys. Don't make fun of her. Sonia said, this is the weirdest concert ever.
She's got her furlough.
I actually saw Katy Perry in concert years ago. It was when she was performing Dark Horse on that big metal horse. And, you know, her show was pretty polished. I feel like she was at the peak of her career. And I keep seeing clips from her recent concerts that just seem so chaotic. I think part of Katy Perry's current downfall has to do with her relationship with Orlando Bloom. I mean, they weren't married, so she doesn't have to go through a divorce, but they share a daughter together, Daisy, and I think it's gonna get a lot more complicated. Also, Katy Perry left and went on to tour, and then they split up while she's on tour. So imagine the moment that she gets home. There was this moment in her LA show where she was asked by the fans to go and perform not like the movies. And there's like this part of her show where she actually performs requested songs, which I think is a great part of the show because fans get to see their favorite. But this track is about a messy breakup, not like the movies, and she had a reaction to performing this, probably because of where she's at in her life right now.
Y'all want me to sing not like the movies at this time of my life? Okay, we'll do it.
And of course, when you put them into the trance, you can also upload not only suicide, but mental illness. And you can simply get it by uploading the code. Remember, bilocate in, bilocate out. You don't want it, so it's always the right hand. And stick it in the back of the head. That you've zapped with the Dirac C, back of the brain to knock it out. Put it in a trance where you've actually used what the Russians call the telepathic knockout. Remember, 50% of the Soviet psychic warfare program was concentrated on telepathy because they worked out telepathy as a weapon. You can simply knock them out and then input into the brain of the American filth or NATO filth things like suicide or mental illness. And of course, who's your number one target for this? So why should all the enemies of America have the fun, be it the Iranians or other countries, when you can join it too? As I say, it's Psi-Geddon, and isn't it good joining a lynching? In this case, a Psi-Geddon lynching.
Was at a press conference with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and said the following: "You all know the great PM of the UK, and we just signed a document." President Trump continued, "We just signed it, so we have our trade agreement with the EU. Britain has not been a party to the EU for 5 years." But President Trump made a statement which clearly was wrong. Now I'd like you to see a short video that includes some other examples of cognitive ability.
The United States is present.
I don't know. The windmills are driving the whales crazy, obviously. I have concepts of a plan. They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the... I know about magnets is this. Give me a glass of water. Let me drop it on the magnets. That's the end of the magnet. The kidney has a very special place in the heart. And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that? By injection inside or almost a cleaning? This is a tough hurricane. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. When you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy, they had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports, it's called baseball in particular. Can't understand a word he's saying. Did you just see Maduro in Venezuela? It's unbelievable. I don't know about it. I mean, obviously I'm not involved.
He wants to know why the proclamation was signed in the dark.
I don't know when it was signed because I didn't sign it. Other people handled it.
Do any of these statements raise a question of cognitive ability?
So, all of the oligarchy of America know that the Iranians and other major state players, plus the WEF, plus the American psychic warfare program, are being used to turn Trump into a vegetable. So we had this meeting between Peter Thiel, who's number one on my target list with Elon Musk and Rupert Murdoch, at a meeting with Vance in June. Made a quiet but telling detour of flight aboard Air Force 2, touchdown in Montana for just a few hours. A remote 340,000 acre cattle ranch near Yellowstone, once owned by the Cox, rat-faced Jews. One's dead, I think the other one's dying. Billionaires, now in the hands of Rupert Murdoch, the aging media baron. And what was supposed to be a low-profile visit to the ranch ended up raising far more questions than answered. According to multiple sources, Vance huddled with Murdoch, his son Lachlan, and senior Fox executives on the 11th. Purpose to quietly strategize a regime change at the heart of the Republican Party. That meeting held just weeks before the Wall Street Journal dropped an expose tying Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein by a sexual alleged birthday letter was no coincidence. Insiders suggest the hit piece was merely phase one of a carefully timed operation to move Trump from the White House before the 2026 midterms. Steve Bannon, what you're seeing and what you're going to see is a coup against the President of the United States. J.D. Vance didn't rise to power organically. He was built in a lab, the Peter Thiel lab. Remember, this piece of filth, Thiel, runs Palantir, which is targeting all enemies of the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family. And of course, I'm doing in Thiel as we speak. The billionaire PayPal co-founder and transhumanist has long sought to re-engineer the Republican Party in Silicon Valley's image. Thiel poured millions into Vance's Senate campaign, handpicked his advisors, and quietly shaped his views on tech regulation, AI, and the surveillance state. Sources closest to Thiel says his ultimate goal was to implant a candidate into Trump's populist base who could steer the movement back towards elite control, this time dressed in Carhartt and spouting Appalachian populism. The plan worked. Vance rode Trump's endorsement and MAGA talking points into office and to pivot to a more globalist-friendly agenda once inside. Now with Trump weakened by legal assaults and public scandal, Thiel and Murdoch see their opening. So as you can see, Trump is being vegetabilized by the Iranians and other nation states, and of course the American psychic warfare program, plus the WEF and their psychic warfare program. Remember, every one of their dogs at this game, and we're going to get Vance as the new WEF president. So all of you MAGA wankers are true wankers. So this electron crystal is on your device as an installation, so you can get into electronic C in order to fry the brains or MK Ultra any piece of Western filth, be it Starmer or Charlesy Boy, like he's died of cancer, I don't know why. Do you know why, cameraman?
No.
Or Macron, or the Rothschild family, or the Rockefeller family. As I say, it's torture time. Why? Well, because it's fun. Anyway, so one can see that this electron crystal is one of the key things you need for leptionics. It's the U-235 plutonium of leptionics. And you don't need to be connected to Neuralink and slave-wed to the American filth oligarchy. To use it, you can simply get my device and fry AI quantum computers. You can brain burn with leptionics and turn them into Biden. Any politician, general, or billionaire, trillionaire in the West, if you are mean and nasty. Or you can MK Ultra them, because remember, we don't need to install mental illness or suicide. We can install sexual depravity, we can install food problems, we can install violence, we can install a whole host of things using this technology. So you've got a blank canvas, and Starmer and Macron and Trump and Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family, and the Pentagon generals and the CIA filth and are yours to reprogram and turn into your favorite torture toy. Why? Because you're worth it, and isn't it fun being a sadistic, nasty bastard? Anyway, let's come to the next processor, which is vital.
Verification, Carr finally acknowledged what they'd stumbled upon. I'm tempted to say it's almost like a new phase of matter. Think about that for a moment. We've all learned about solids, liquids, gases, and maybe plasma. But this is something fundamentally different. A geometrically perfect lattice emerging spontaneously, made not of atoms or molecules, but of pure electrons arranging themselves into a crystal-like structure. It's as if the electrons decided to play by entirely new rules of physics. If you're finding this fascinating, hit that subscribe button right now, because we're about to go even deeper into these accidental discoveries that are reshaping our understanding of reality. But if that shocked scientists, what came next may completely change how we think about matter. What if part of a material was frozen solid and the other part behaved like fire? The half-ice, half-fire paradox. Just when physicists thought they'd seen it all, researchers at Brookhaven National Laboratory made a discovery in 2024 that sounds more like magic than science. We were studying a one-dimensional ferry magnet when we noticed something that shouldn't be possible, explains the research team. Part of the material was behaving with perfect order, while another part remained in complete chaos, simultaneously. Imagine a material that freezes and burns at the same time. That's not science fiction. It's lab-tested, and it might power quantum devices of the future. Here's what makes this half-ice, half-fire state so mind-bending. In one domain, all the electron spins align perfectly, like soldiers standing at attention. This creates a cold, ordered state physicists call the ice component. But in the adjacent domain, electron spins remain completely random and disordered, like a crowd in panic. This is the fire component. The material doesn't gradually transition between these states. It flips between them at a precise boundary. And when it does, it creates a massive change in magnetic entropy, essentially releasing or absorbing heat energy in an instant. What makes this especially exciting is that unlike many quantum phenomena, this isn't just a physics curiosity. The researchers have already identified practical applications. The sharp phase switching could revolutionize refrigeration technology through magnetic cooling, more efficient than traditional methods. Even more intriguing, the distinct ice and fire states could function as the zeros and ones in a new type of quantum memory, potentially transforming computing as we know it. Understanding these mixed spin states could lead to great advances in quantum computing and spintronics, one researcher noted. This accidental discovery might become the foundation for technologies we've only dreamed about. If you want to see more stories where science stumbles into the unknown, hit subscribe. We break down the stuff they don't talk about in school. The hidden states ladder. For generations, we've been taught there are just a handful of states of matter.
So, I've been talking about Kozyrev time density. That time density is denser near the receiver of an action. And thinner near the sender, demonstrating that thought can affect the intensity of time. But wouldn't it be fun to have a processor, a U-235 or plutonium, that could get you into manipulating Kozyrev time density, even though you're not a five-dimensional being like me and never will be. So you can effect, cause and effect, but more importantly, you can get into torsionics and scalionix, which the Soviets were desperate to develop, and no one in the West even knows what they're talking about. So first of all, you need to bilocate into this fire and ice state of matter, and bilocate out, stick in your midsection. So now you've got this capability which comes with your God Emperor device, Psi-Geddon Installation. So I've talked about entropy, which is things becoming more and more disordered. And in this one crystal you've got something that's very ordered. The ice bit phase, and you've got something that's very disordered, the fire bit. So let's look at the simplest application. When you grab this, and remember it can be used for damaging things. So you can actually go into the brain of, let's say, Trump or any other world leader, simply ram it into his brain or whatever brain center you fancy with the right hand, and then of course you'll get this fire ice, which then switches, producing
today to question Joe Biden's mental fitness, well, because Donald Trump told them to, but it blew up in their faces.
But in rhetoric and speech pathology has pointed to one of the clearest signs yet of Donald Trump's possible cognitive decline. Dr. Jennifer Mercieka, a professor of communication at Texas A&M University, says Trump's speaking patterns reflect a serious inability to stay focused and finish a coherent thought. She explained that Trump's unscripted speaking style, something he sees as a strength, actually makes his speeches difficult to follow. He often jumps between unrelated ideas, skips logical connections, and repeats stories that lack relevance or context. This isn't just occasional word fumbling. According to Dr. Mercieka, it's a consistent pattern, one that can suggest cognitive issues like vascular dementia. Trump often starts sentences without finishing them properly, or veers into unrelated topics mid-sentence. This was on full display during a recent commencement speech at West Point, where he confused phrases like late great with great late, and launched into unrelated rants about topics like trophy wives. Experts stress that speech can be one of the most revealing windows into brain function, and Trump's increasingly erratic language use, both in public speeches and written posts, raises real concerns.
So as you can see, leptonics and of course this new fire ice Psi-Geddon installation can burn or change the entropy. Remember, living material is in a state of highly ordered low entropy, and if you simply reverse the flow with the fire ice generator, that will show you in future videos, you can simply make any part of the target return to its state is that it would be in if the biophysical body, the soul, the living part of it, had left. And as we know, corpses don't last long, do they, cameraman? So you can actually turn part of the victim or all of the victim into a corpse, even though their soul, biophysical body is still in it, causing them to rapidly degenerate as if they were a corpse. Really scary stuff you can do with this fire and ice generator, and it's got so many uses and implications, it's off the scale. So we'll be continuing in the next video with this fire and ice installation, because it truly is a revelation. Psi-Geddon released. Anyway, here's another victim potentially of this technology.
Like open heart surgery. On July 16th, Taylor's rep confirmed to TMZ the 73-year-old underwent quintuple bypass surgery over 1 month earlier, and that his wife Andrea Swift, as well as both Taylor and their son Austin Swift, were with him throughout the surgery and recovery process. The rep confirmed that the surgery was not a result of a heart attack, but that rather Scott's doctor saw something during a checkup that led to the procedure. And his recovery is going great, sources tell the outlet. Coronary bypass surgery involves creating new paths for blood to throw around a blocked or partially blocked artery in the heart, according to the Mayo Clinic. In this case, Scott's surgery included creating 5 new pathways. And it's no secret Taylor and her dad are close. Not only was he a frequent attendee of her Eras tour, but he even joined her at many Kansas City Chiefs games to cheer on her boyfriend Travis Kelce, since they began dating in 2023. E! News has reached out to Taylor's rep for comment, but has not yet heard back.
So as you can see, you can do that to Scotty, Swifty boy, leptonics, or this zombification device called the Fire Ice. We'll go into how to use it in the next video, and it's got so many other uses. It's a wonderful Psi-Geddon device, but you can use this to simply destroy the cardiovascular system of anyone you like, including Scotty Swifty boy. And why did we mention this? Well, it shows that Taylor Swift, who used to be the Nagel woman of the American Psychic Warfare program, has now got the psychic warfare potential of suicidal lemmings who are in free fall off the cliff, and everything they used her for to control the world is going the way of Scotty Swifty boy, and America is doomed, especially since they gave Russia a 50-day deadline before they declared war on Russia. So as you can see, proof that the American psychic warfare program is not only worthless, but being used to destroy the things it most loves. And of course, Taylor Swift, aka Becky, dearly loves her stepdaddy, because she of course is an Anton LaVey, Xena LaVey, biological clone thingy, but as we can see, her psychic power reversed to doing Scotty Swifty Boy and all of America and all of NATO. The things aren't going well for the American psychic warfare plan. As I say, even the big beautiful bill, 7 trillion, is not going to do anything to save the West from Psi-Geddon, because the Psi-Lord's got a hard on for America and NATO, and he's gone double fisting up their anuses.